Ladies and gentlemen, the A.live Podcast. This is season 2. I believe it's episode 7. And the guest I have with me today is Jamal P. And he's from H-Town, Hagerstown, Maryland. So what's up, Jamal? How you doing today,
What's up, buddy? What's up, man? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, dude. It's good to have you on the podcast today.
No, man. It's good to be on here, man. I've been wanting to do this since I met you, man.
That's awesome, dude. I appreciate that, man. And I guess our relationship kind of goes back, 2 years, maybe?
Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah. Matter of fact, about 3 years.
Okay.
Like when I first started recovery, I met y'all guys down at Music Fest down in Westminster. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would that have been 2017? Because I don't think I was at that one.
Yeah, 17.
Okay, yeah.
17, yeah.
So it's funny. I think it was actually in treatment I think I might have been DJing a wedding. I wasn't at that year. You met some of the guys I was associated with at that point in time, but I think we met, and it might have been Cumberland or before Cumberland. Because you met some of the other guys at Music Fest, but I wasn't at the first year.
Probably down. Didn't they have one at the one treatment center with Shoemaker, right? Was you down at that one?
I wasn't there. It might have been the Stay Clean Chase Dreams tour when I was associated with Cloud Gang. Those days have passed, and we talked a little bit about that before the podcast started rolling. Anyways, it's good to have you here, man. I want to say, like, from what I remember is that we have known each other for about 2 years or so. We've done a couple shows together. And, when I was associated with Cloud Gang, it was the recovery hip hop. And you guys, any of the listeners can check them out. It's B Rain, Rem One, some of the other guys, Joe Nestor, Kalichi. But yeah, man, those were good days in my recovery, and it kind of set me up and paved the way for the life I have today. So I love those guys, set nothing but love for them, but we've kind of gone separate directions in our lives, and that's okay. And that's what we were talking about before the podcast started rolling, is that, some relationships, they serve their purpose, and then we move on, and it can be bittersweet. It can be very tough, but the message is that, like, any addict can stop lose the desire to use and find a new way to life. And you're going to go through some hard stuff, right?
Yeah, recovery ain't easy, man. Like, ain't no unicorns, rainbows, peaches, or cream. It's tough, man, because, for me, in my experience, man, like, since I got clean, it seemed like responsibilities got worser, life gets worse and all this, but, like, I just don't got to use behind it. So, like, really coming to that understanding of finding those tools to get through without using, man, like, that was key for me.
Yeah, man. And I remember something you told me a couple months ago when I asked you to do this podcast, because I was asking you how life was going, and I think you said something along the lines of, the first year was about having fun.
Yeah.
The second year was about responsibility. Yeah. And the third year was about life on life's terms, right? And so it seems to be like my experience as well. Like, the first year was a lot of fun, and the second year, like, responsibility started to set in, So now I'm in my third year, which time is just going so fast. It blows my mind. Thanks, dude. Yeah. Thanks, dude. Yeah. It really blows my mind. And, I'm just grateful, man. But there's a lot of things that I realize that I have to turn my will and my life over to, because I'm powerless over everything, really. Whether that's other people, whether it's certain circumstances in my life, whatever it may be. Just turning it over and just getting that daily reprieve, man. This thing recovery is like showed me how to live, man. And it's a process, dude.
Yeah, it's a big process, man. Because like I said, my first year it was all about fun, like doing everything, all these events and stuff. And then, like, the second year was more about gaining some things and then becoming responsible to hold those things. And then now the third year is like, I really got to deal with me. I got to deal with life. I got to deal with the situations in my past. Because the farther I get in my step work, the more it seems like the disease going to show itself to me, going to present itself to me in other areas. And it's like, man, some days is better than others. Some days is crying. Some days is praying. Some days is reaching out. But, just learning how to just sit still sometimes just learning how to reach out sometimes, get the help that you need. And like, that's what's been successful for me thus far. So like, it's worth it, man. And I tell everybody all the time, like, today I got a life worth fighting for. So, man, it's awesome.
And that's what I like about you, Jamal, is like, you're so real, dude. Like, your spirit, when I talk to you, man, like, I don't know what it is about who you are, but like, I get chills from the things that you say. And I think it's because not what you're saying or how you're delivering it, because I think it may be because of who you are and like how you live your life. And like, you don't really have to say it. You just show people by example, and it's just really, that's really what recovery is, man. It's not all talk. It's, let me see how you're living, right? Because like, if you're doing one thing, if you're saying one thing in the rooms, but you're going out there and you're still living dirty, none of those words hold any weight. So it's important to me that I see my predecessors showing me how to live, not telling me how to live, but showing me by example.
I mean, and then there's a flip side of that too, because like, me being in the 12-step program, I do, like, it's a lot of predecessors who talk about unconditional love, but don't know how to show it, being not judgmental, but being judgmental based on the newcomer, based on the decisions you make. Because like what I have experienced in my third year, I had made a conscious decision to get in a relationship with somebody that had lesser clean time than me. And by me being in this process, growing spiritually, mentally, like, I see people for people. I don't put no title on nobody. I don't put no expectations on nobody. I just see a person for who they can be. And man, I got persecuted, man. I got they try to make me feel this low. They try to dim my light. And I had to like really step up to them and let them know how I felt. So it was times where, I was in meetings, like, just going ham, man. Like, look, man, I used to say it all the time. The first person who live a perfect program, you cast this 12-step book at me, because we're not perfect in this process. We just get better. And like, like I said, the flip side to it is like, to thyself be true. And to me personally, I have experienced like, being on fire for recovery and then not being on fire in recovery, making decisions, good decisions, making bad decisions. And that's why I finally realized, like, I don't got to live by no image that somebody create for me. I have to be true to myself. I have to be accountable to myself, and I have to be honest to myself. And I think, that's what kind of makes me a unique type person, because I express how I am, how I feel, what I'm going through. Open process of recovery, and then the programs you do work, some people experience it, some people don't, but I just know I have. But it comes to a level of just acceptance, like, I accept me for who I am. It is what it is.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to work no perfect program. I don't know how to work a perfect program.
Yeah, it's impossible. Like, life is not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And you touched on a lot of really good things there, man. And one of the things that kind of jogged my memory about when you were talking just now is that, I had a tendency to put people on pedestals. In recovery, like, so-and-so's got X amount of years clean. I need to do what he does. But what I've found is that, not everything is for everybody. So what works for such and such might not work for me. And I got to find what works for me and remain true to myself. And not allow people to put me in a box, right? Because I've been put in boxes too, right? People will see what I'm capable of, and they'll put me in this box, and they won't realize that outside of that box, I'm a father, I'm a friend, a son, whatever it may be. I'm a DJ, go as far as to say I'm just a human being. And so don't put me in a category that limits your ability to see who I am, because then you'll never be able to see my full potential, right? And that's some real shit. Shit. Forgive my language, but it is truth, and having that experience is okay, but I just can't allow people to walk all over me like that anymore. And like this is what I'm saying is like recovery has given me a backbone, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
been able it's given me the ability to say no,
yeah,
and
yes,
not just say no to drugs, but say
no
no.
situations, yeah,
Correct. And not
yeah,
like be a people pleaser anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Because I did that for so long in active addiction. That was my go-to,
Hmm.
but even it followed me into recovery, and so many of those character defects have followed me into recovery, and I need to learn how to deal with them, and that's what the step works for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So this has
yeah.
been an awesome conversation already, man. I'm
Off the break,
excited.
yeah, man. Me too, man. 'Cause, it's
Yeah.
just, cause when I be in the 12-step meetings and stuff that I go to, man, I be hearing people share, they want to sound all intelligent and all that. Like, honestly, I get a real clear spiritual feeling message when somebody speak exactly what's going on.
Hmm.
Share exactly where you at. Speak exactly from the heart, man. And because this program is going to make you grow up. This process is going to make you grow up. It's going to change who you are as an individual and stuff like that, man. And it's just phenomenal for me, man. And I love it.
It really is. And
You
like,
know,
I met you when you were already 2 years or so into your
yeah,
process. So
yeah.
you're what, about 4.5 years now,
No,
if
no,
I'm
I
not
got
mistaken.
3.5 years.
3.5. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is my second go around. So the first time I was able to have 5 years of clean time. So
Okay. That's awesome.
when I got fortunate again to get this opportunity again, let me do something different. So that's when I started applying the spiritual principles of step work, and life is more fulfilling because now that I'm actually working on myself, now I'm really seeing how the external things really don't matter. Living by people's expectations don't matter. Trying to be the flyest dude don't matter.
Not at all.
Let me be a father to my kids. That's
That's
all I
right.
really want. Let me be better than what broke me. Let me help somebody and learn to live in a selfless mentality and have that aspect in my life, man, and just show my heart, show the love that I got, man,
Man.
and learn to be fortunate, because this last before the podcast, man, my high power, who I choose to call God, think that I do got a God in this process, that this process has given me a relationship with a high power. This female reached out to me that was in a treatment center where my sister worked at. And my
Mm,
sister got 4 years clean, and I prayed her in the rooms, right?
that's
And it's
awesome,
so
man.
phenomenal to just, we get restored. And so this girl reached out, and she left the treatment center and wanted to use, and somehow my name came up, and she reached out to me, and all right, well, let's try to help you out. So I reached out to some people up here, and the whole conversation that I was having with her through her time of getting into the program, like, look, you might be that one person that have the bed, but OD, you have the bed, but lose their life. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't want that for you. Man, the night she was supposed to come up, man, she OD'd, and the next day we
Mm.
trying to call her, and come to find out she OD'd and stuff, man. But thanks to my high power, man, she made it through. But it's like this thing is real, man.
Absolutely. I was just gonna say the same thing. That's how real the disease is. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't
man.
play around. It doesn't play
Nah,
around.
not at all.
It
Not at
knows
all.
that we're trying to get better,
Yeah,
and it's going
yeah,
to take us out any way that it can,
yeah,
and so we have to be mindful every single day, and hold on to those things that we're grateful for,
yeah.
and not forget where we came from, right?
Exactly, exactly. Because I'm always say my story, the story that I was ashamed of, is a story that might help save somebody's life. You
Mm,
know, I used to be ashamed of being an addict, man. You know, that disease had
yeah.
me ashamed like a mug, but now look, it is
Yeah.
what it is. And one thing too, I can honestly say, man, my sons, man, I got two little boys, man, and because in my active addiction, my bottom was I lost my kids. I had custody of them. I fought for them, got custody. That was the first time I got clean, and I really never had no consequences using. It was getting, using, and finding ways and means, really to get into in trouble with the law or nothing like that, but like, I had my kids and I worked hard and I just made one bad decision to start using again, and that was the consequence behind it. And like, today, like, I still don't get to see him, but I remember my oldest son snuck out to see me when it was like about 2 months ago. He was like, "Daddy, pull up on me." I'm like, "All right." So he snuck out to see me, man, and it was so fulfilling because like he know the story about me using, but then again, he see who I am now, man. And it's just like, this is why this program is worth having and worth working hard for. And like I was telling the girl that OD, because she was expressing herself about her kids, and I was like, man, they tell us we got to do this for ourselves, but think about somebody else, in the process, man. And I'm a grandfather now, right? My oldest daughter had a grandbaby, and like that's the one thing I don't want to ever lose, man. Just being present today.
Yeah.
Having the opportunity to be present. So, yeah,
man, you got me speechless. Like, you just shared some real stuff, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you opening up to me, and open up to the listeners or viewers. Yeah. And I did write a couple of questions down, which I haven't even got to address yet, but I want to know. You mentioned a little bit, but that's all right. So yeah, I think you mentioned that your first go around in recovery, you got 5 years clean. You went back out. Yeah. You had some consequences. You came back into recovery, but I want to go back to the first time that you came to the rooms and were able to put together that 5 years. How did you find your way to the rooms?
Man, like it was. That time I was 26 years old, right? And I had no belief in nothing but the disease. You know what I mean? Like I yearned to die. Like every time I put that crack pipe to my mouth, take me out, And I remember crying out to a God that I had no relationship with. I heard about him, but I didn't know him for myself. And I remember being out on the street, man, and I was geeking so bad. And, like me, I was more like I was a user, but I was also a runner too. So like I could manipulate the people that's using because I could dress fly, act like I'm a hustler, but I'm getting high just, just like them. And I remember this car pull up, man, and it was a blue Impala with tinted windows, right? So it was two white guys in there, and hey, man, where I can get a 60 ready?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Baltimore slang, right? I mean,
of course.
The Baltimore slang, right? So the crazy part is, dude was like, well, look, won't you get in the front seat and I get in the back, right? So when I look in the car, right, I see all these papers and all this and all that. And I'm just, man, something don't seem right. So I'm riding on the block and I'm hollering at people I used to cop from, and they just dropping their head, right? Whole time I'm in the car with task force, Frederick County Task Force, right?
I saw that coming.
look, I'm in the car with, look, I'm
You're just cruising like,
look, I ain't even, I ain't even know, man. Like, the disease had me, look. So I remember calling everybody and when nobody answered, going to the spots, when nobody answered. And so what had happened was they got desperate. They was like, well, can you get us some weed? So they got real desperate, man. And so I served them a 20 bag of weed, and they got me for conspiracy with intent to distribute, right? So, but what that did was they gave me 5 years, and I took a plea bargain to the drug court program in Frederick, and I was like the second. The second candidates coming around when they first started in Frederick, and what that did was it introduced me to recovery. But prior to that, like my mother, see, the disease, it goes way back in my family. Like majority of my family members was addicted. You know what I mean? I was born into addiction. Like I always say, right? I never had a chance, but I never had a choice, but I had a chance. You know what I mean? I never had a chance,
but you had a choice.
I never had a chance, right. So my mother, after her using for 20-something years, man, decided to say, I don't want it no more. And she went into master unit rehab, right? And when she went in, that was my first shot of hope that it's possible, because I didn't know nothing about recovery. I didn't know that I could stop using. Like, I thought I was going to die in active addiction. That's what I wanted, you know what I mean? And so when she went in, it gave me so much hope. And then when I got locked up, it was like, all right, let me try this thing out. So got into the drug court program. I did everything they asked me to. I was accumulating clean time. I was going to meetings. I became active in my recovery, working. I was just doing something different, and I felt better about who I was as a person. Right. So that was my thrive. That was my light. That was my motivation. Like, man, you might have been through a life of pain, but you feel better about who you are as a person. And so what was happening was, like, I started praying. I started, involving myself in spirituality, and I started seeing the God of my understanding make miracles in my life happen, right? And just participating in my own recovery. And what happened was, after my 2.5 years, got into a relationship with a practicing addict, man. Right. And when that happened, I wanted to love her so much because the love inside of me was still missing. See, like, my problem really wasn't the drugs, man. It was absent from myself, me not loving me. I wanted everything else but me, and so I was just dealing with her and her mess for about 2-3 years, man, and got custody of my kids, and I had to make a choice. But I was dealing with so much pain with her, man. I really wasn't. I did step 1, 2, and 3, the shuffle, didn't get into 4, and opportunity presented itself, man. I was in so much pain, and boom, all right, let me do what I know was best. Let me numb it. Picked up. So did that, man, and became homeless with 4 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, came home.
So you got custody of your kids, and then you became homeless with them.
Yeah, with them. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I had to make another conscious decision to say, look, man, let me try this thing again. So I went to a homeless shelter in Frederick, and I was clean, but I wasn't going to meetings.
Okay.
So my thing is, if you ain't plugged into the light, eventually you will turn back to the dark. Yeah. And so I had my kids, man. I'm trying. So I had like 2 years clean again. So like when I pick up, I stay out for about 6 months, maybe 4 to 5 months. Then I get back into the program, and then I get some more clean time, maybe a year or 2 more. Just that vicious cycle.
Yeah, I've been there, man.
Yeah,
been there.
Yeah, so I got homeless with the kids, man. But I tried, man. And then once I got my own place, I still wasn't connected. And then boom. Made another bad decision, and
yeah, man,
there it was.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to your story about getting some time clean, working a step or 2, and going back out. And I don't want that to be my experience today, but every addict is one bad choice away. It doesn't matter how much clean time you have, if you don't stay involved or do the things that, like the glue that holds your recovery together, and practice those things, you're going to end up losing what you have. And so it's very important, even through these times where we can't get to face-to-face meetings, that we stay plugged in. So appreciate you sharing that stuff, man. How are you dealing with that absence of in-person meetings today? Are you doing the Zoom meetings? What's going on?
I jumped on them here and there. I shared on one. I mean, it really ain't my thing. I love emotion. I love people. I love the interaction. So me and my network, we normally get together like probably once a week or once every 2 weeks. We have dinner. Like last night, we had dinner. I had two of my sponsors with me, and we went over one of our friends' house. We ate. We talked. Last week we was over somebody else's house. It was probably like 7 of us, so we played games and stuff like that. But what I do is, man, I reach out. I reach out to the people that's helping me in my process, like my spiritual family, my sponsor. Read a little bit, do a little step work. Stay a little connected. It ain't the same, but it's helpful. Right. It's so helpful because, like, thank God for technology. We can still have these meetings and stuff like that. So I'm still plugged in. I ain't going nowhere. It's just like, for me, making that conscious decision not to use every day. I make it every day. Look, I ain't gonna use no matter what, no matter what's happening in the world, no matter if I gotta sit in this house, because like isolation is one of my big things. But like I learned to understand what solitude means. Right? It's a big difference. So I could sit here being at peace in my own house, doing nothing, not watching TV, just laying there in complete silence, reflecting on everything that's happening. And for real, man, like this corona thing really has like it affecting a whole lot of people, affecting the world, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to find a blessing in it. So I kind of stopped doing what I was doing. Now I'm sitting still. I'm reflecting on the next chapter in my life. You know, when I come out of this, where I want to be, what I want to do, what I want to be involved with, and stuff like that. So it gave me some clarity for real, man. Moment to reflect. You know?
And the reality is we still don't know like when we're going to come out of this and when life's going to get back to normal. But I think there's going to be a new normal. It's not going to go back to how it used to be. And if it does go, if life gets back to how it used to be, I mean, where, you know, then I think it's going to take a while. But regardless, I mean, as people change and grow and evolve and the world grows and evolves and like, you know, things are never going to be the same. This is like, this could be the new normal. Who knows? Who knows? You know, we really, we're not prophets. We can't predict the future. But it's okay. And just for today, I'm okay. I can sit still, as you mentioned, in my house. Don't have to have the TV on. I can conversate with my girlfriend. I can call people and reach out to people in my network. And one of the things that I've done to help me, man, is, and I just started this last weekend, I wrote down a list of all the people that are in my network that I would like to stay in contact with. And I work down the list. I call one of those people each day, and when I get to the bottom of the list, I start back over. And that's how I'm going to maintain those relationships so that when we come out of this stay-at-home order, this isolation, that like I can still maintain those relationships. It's not like I haven't talked to them for months, you know, because the Zoom meetings are hard. Like, I get what you're saying, man. It's different. And like, as I tune into meetings here and there throughout the week, I noticed that there's a lot less people attending these meetings than when it first started. But I kind of like, it makes me worry for people, including myself. You know, I don't do as many meetings as I used to when we could still go to meetings in person, but it's nicer. Like, I feel like the less people in the meeting, the less chaotic, the more I can connect and the more
intimate.
So I did a meeting on Friday and it was only 6 of us and we were all really able to connect. We still were able to fill up the hour. And we had, everyone shared, we had a really good connection, I feel. So that was nice. As far as the question I have here on the card, I want to get back to this. How long did it take you? Like, how long were you out there ripping and running? What was active addiction like? Because I don't talk about that a lot on the podcast, what active addiction was like. Talk about the insanity, as much as you're willing to share about it.
Man, like, like I said, man, like, I could say, my addiction was present even before I picked up, right? I had this thing where I always wanted to be somebody else. I remember at the age of 3 years old watching Scarface, I knew I was going to snort cocaine, right? I knew it because I was so infatuated with what he was doing and what was happening. I remember wanting to be Dukes of Hazzard, Bo and Luke. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the reason why is because of the trauma that took place. Like, I remember having an alright life until crack cocaine swept America, and it came in my front door. And somehow, some way, where I used to live at over in Frederick, Maryland, a place called Pennsylvania Avenue, it was a very, very bad drug area. And like, I was thinking about this last night. So they had like little gangs called, we was called PA Hustlers, and then another place was called Ghostbusters, JHU, and all this, right? So everybody from different ages wanted to just be a PA hustler, right? And we was all infatuated with these Panamanian drug lords that used to come over there, man. And it was like New Jack City type stuff. And somehow, some way, man, they hit my house. They was inside my house. They was cool with my mother, and they clinged to me, and so I just remember like my mom being a normal person to somebody geeking on the ground to 30, 40 people in the pantry using, and I was 3 or 4 or 5 year old able to do what I wanted to do. So I knew about everything before, you know what I mean, I just knew. And my childhood was just swept away, man. So I remember moving to Kentucky with my dad at the age of 8, and he
Oh
started
wow. Okay.
using. So from 8, 9, and 10, it was me and my brother, man. And I remember, like, having to wash clothes in the bathroom, in a bathtub. I remember sitting in a 2-bedroom apartment with no electric, no food. He's on his binges, and me and my brother just had to fend for ourselves, man. So, like, it was so hard. And the first time I picked up, I was 12 years old. Hit the little joint, drunk a little beer.
Yeah.
All right, so I felt that instant gratification. Right. I felt that escaping. I felt different. So I started reaching out for acceptance. I just wanted somebody to love me and care about me. And the older crowd, they was going through the same thing, and that's what we did, man. We drank, smoked weed, and all that. And then I got introduced to cocaine when I was 16. I moved back to Frederick, Maryland with my mother, and she was still in active addiction, and I had a choice. Either I could go to school or hit the block. I chose to hit the block. So by me hitting the block, I'm thinking I can make money, whatever. And then one day, my older cousins, they was doing big coke and stuff, and I decided to do it. And I got turned out, man, at a young age, man. And from there, man, it was hell. It was pure hell, man. And so I used from 12 to 26 straight, every day, all day, man. And suicide thoughts came behind it, insanity. I really didn't know too much about what insanity meant, but it was an everyday cycle. I would have sold my soul just to get one more.
Mm-hmm. And you certainly just qualified yourself as an addict. You know, there's a lot of. Let me retrace my thoughts here. You qualified yourself as an addict. However, I can't tell you you're an addict.
No.
That's something that you have to come to a decision yourself.
Yeah.
So when you had made that decision that you were an addict and, you wanted something different, how hard was it to like really just surrender to the process of, because for me it took years, and like you talked about the step 1, 2, 3 shuffle, getting some months clean and stuff like that. Man, I can remember for a period of time I couldn't stay clean to save my life. Like literally, it was like I get 2 days and then I go back out, and then I get maybe able to put together a whole week and then I go back out, and then I put together 30 days and go back out and use for 30 days, and then the pain got great enough again and I would get 90 days, and like it was a revolving cycle, man. And like, really, did you have a turning point where you knew like this was it, you weren't going to use again?
I mean, like I said before, man, like the consequence when I lost my kids, that's when I knew I had a problem. Because prior to that, having no consequences, I was able to just, use, I was able to use and hurt everybody, and everybody knew I had a problem but me.
Okay.
Right. And then when I started, really having to do things that I normally wouldn't do to, like I used to stand on the corner, ask people for dollars. Instead of me working, I stole from my mother before, I remember
I've done that too. And that's a painful thing, man. To do.
I remember, one time having $20 and my kids needed diapers, and I told myself, let me go flip this, let me get on for a while, and then I'll come back with some diapers. And when I come back, I ain't got no diapers, and I'm coming back 2 days later. So that's when I kind of knew it was a problem. And then especially those moments where I didn't want to use, but I had to, that voice, that disease, look,
man.
Be me. You know what to do.
It's the only thing you can listen to, right?
Yeah. So it came a point to where because I used to always dwell on my past and my mistakes and think about the reality of what's going on in my life, man. And it just came to a point where I got tired and sick and tired, man. And when that happened, man, it was just like, all right, what's next?
Okay.
And that came to that bottom, look, I have nothing. I have no self-love, no self-worth, no dignity, no pride, no nothing. I need somebody help me. You know.
Yeah, so like when the pain got great enough, you were willing to do something different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Willing to do something.
One of the things that I didn't realize, you should have told me my my light's freaking out back here. I didn't notice that. All right, hold on. Yeah, so basically, sorry about that, man. Yeah, when the pain gets great enough, we'll do something different. And I know before we even did this podcast and we were texting throughout the week, you mentioned something that I wanted to touch on. You said sometimes you don't see the growth within the pain.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, you know, like life. When I look at my own life and everything that I go through, right, I see what I'm going through. I don't see the other side because I'm no prophet. I'm no psychic. I can't look into the future, right?
Right.
All I see is the pain, you know, and like that's what I used to see in the past, the pain, right? I couldn't see past the pain, so I was always stuck, right? So like now, as I endure the pain, and I think that's the difference. If you can endure the pain, you can get to tomorrow. You know what I mean? If you can endure it, right? Because I remember having to escape it. So now, if pain comes in my way, I have to feel it, feel, deal, and heal.
Yeah,
I have to embrace
feel,
it.
deal, and heal. Is that what you said?
Yeah, feel, deal, and heal,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
good.
it's like now, you know, when pain comes, okay, it's a temporary feeling. It's a temporary emotion. So now by being in the pain, am I causing the pain or is somebody else causing the pain? Right? So now I have an opportunity to get into solution, and that's where the growth comes. So if I'm into the solution, I'm growing, right? But sometimes the pain could still blind me, you know, because I'm not willing to get through the pain. But I think pain,
man.
like today I was listening to a church service, man, and pastor was talking about pain, right? And how pain is the greatest gift.
Yeah. It's like motivation.
Yeah,
you know?
It is.
But there's sometimes, and I'm just speaking from my own experience with pain, is like if I am going through painful feelings, and I can emphasize in that pain and really like make it feel worse than it actually is, or I can blow something out of proportion. And it's like, I'm asking for me when I ask you like your experience, like what do you do to like not emphasize that pain, or how do you allow the pain to subside? How do you get through that feeling sometimes? Sometimes I like it, sometimes I guess, and I get through the feeling of the pain, but sometimes it just takes me all day, or it takes me all week, or I'm sure there's still pain I'm dealing with from last year or a month ago, you know, and it's not in the forefront, but it's lingering. And every now and again, it'll come back.
I mean, what I normally do is I let it take its course. I let it take its process. I don't deny it. I don't escape it. I feel it. Because like one of my defense mechanisms is like I suppress, right? So I suppress all my feelings, right? But what I'm learning is to talk about it. So as I talk about it, I open up a door to exposing what I'm feeling to get the help that I need. A closed mouth don't get fed. So like then I invite people in to help me deal with what I'm dealing with, because I don't have to be alone. I don't got to be by myself in it, right?
Yeah, man.
So like I share my pain, you know.
Pain shared is pain lesson.
You know, I share my pain. So it's like, so when I'm going through a painful situation, and since I've been clean, there's always been some type of pain. And I was just talking to somebody the other day. They was like, you know, why do I see you here, see you coming and going, and the circumstances of life. I'm learning how to deal with certain things at different times in life, you know, to help me get through certain things. And sometimes I don't like people to see me in pain, right?
Absolutely.
And
it's like it shows weakness, and you know, men aren't raised to be weak. There's this you know, there's this idea behind the fact that men are strong and we shouldn't cry, and
all that's bull crap. All that bull. I'm the biggest crybaby ever. I got emotional. I'm an emotional creature.
Well, I appreciate your vulnerability. You know?
and that's key, being vulnerable. So
absolutely.
Like as I'm in my pain, I'm so vulnerable, and that's when, like I said, I reach out to people, my sponsor, my spiritual mentor, my spiritual family, my network, you know, and I share about my pain. I'll go into a meeting. Matter of fact, prime example, like in this last breakup that I had, caused me so much pain, because it was like now everybody have to witness my pain, right? People going to judge my pain. People going to tell me I told you so, right? It took me so much courage to sit in a meeting with tears in my eyes, right? The infamous Jamal, right?
Yeah, man.
Sitting in a 12-step program and hurting, heartbroken,
Yeah, man.
But I got through it.
And that's
So I was
real.
able to get through it. And I shared about it, look, let me let you know where I'm at, man. Look, I'm hurting right now. I need some help, So, yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Here I go again, getting chills, man. Giving me chills, That's because it's real, man. I'm going to switch the subject off of pain now. And this question, it's not for entertainment purposes. It's just, I guess here's the question.
Yeah.
What are some of the crazy things that you have been through in recovery? Now, when I say that, I want you to understand when you attach the word crazy, it doesn't have to be towards good or bad. Because an example that I'm going to use is like, I can remember being at a party in recovery with my family, and there was drinking and there was drug use going on, but I was sitting there like just eating food and trying to socialize with people. And to me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy that, for one, that I'm in that environment in recovery, and it's crazy to see everybody around me acting the way they're acting. Is this what I looked like when I was using? Like, is this how I acted? And then I have to remember, well, they're not really addicts, so they may be acting crazy right now, but tomorrow they're gonna suit up and show up for work, show up for their kids, do whatever they need to do. Like, it's not gonna get out of hand. They may drink once in a blue moon, twice a year, once a month, whatever it may be. So back to the question, what are some of the crazy things you've been through in recovery?
Well, me and my daughter got robbed in recovery.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it got by gunpoint. My first year, got robbed at gunpoint. And instead of me trying to thug it out, you ain't taking nothing from me and all that, I had to think fast, and I had to get us out that situation. And that was like the biggest fear I ever felt in my life. And it was, just spare me and my daughter's life, take whatever, you know what I mean? And we made it through. And it was just us walking to the store, me trying to be a dad, me trying to do something right, and boom, it's happened, right? And it was crazy, man. It was crazy.
Absolutely. Sounds crazy.
I shared about that for a while and and got through it. Another crazy thing, sometimes I still like going out to the club. I like dancing and stuff like that. I don't drink nothing like that, but, I like dancing.
Sure.
Mess with a few females.
Right.
Yeah, mess with a few females in the process, man. I want to commit, and all that, but, sometimes, hey.
Sure. Yeah,
I thought about hustling in recovery.
Yeah.
I'm all right now, got a couple dollars saved up. Yeah, let me, I'm struggling right now. Let me, just.
Let me just triple my money. Let me double my money, whatever. That's that insane thinking, really.
Yeah, sneaky thinking. What else? That's probably about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, as soon as you said being robbed and held at gunpoint, man, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And that's something we have to be aware of, is that just because our lives and we're not acting crazy anymore, that doesn't mean that the next person over there is not acting crazy, So it's important to be aware, and recovery has given me awareness of my surroundings, for sure.
Just because I got clean don't mean the world gonna clean up. I'm just part of it. You know what I mean? And just another crazy thing, like, some of my siblings, they still, smoke their little weed and all that. And, like, I don't judge them like that. Like, I don't sit, like, right next to them, but I still, how you doing? Still, love them, stuff like that. I just know, for me, like, I got to change. My recovery is my responsibility. This is something I chose for myself, and I can't make nobody, because, like, one thing, like, with me and my sister, our conversations, man, like, I never forced her to recover, and, like, now as we talk, dang, wow, like I get a shot of hope from you as well as you get a shot of hope from me. You
Yeah,
know,
that's beautiful, man.
you know,
Especially when
so
you're related,
yeah, yeah. And then like one of my cousins was supposed to be here with me today that reached out for some help and all that, and he ain't show up, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
But you know, stuff like that, you can't force nobody in this
that's right.
process. And I know I can't change the world either.
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
He's
You met.
changed me.
It's very important to remember that you cannot force anybody into this.
Yeah,
When someone's ready,
yeah,
or if they ever, if they become ready and willing, they will make sacrifices to get what it is that we have.
yeah, yeah.
So we have to lead by example,
Yep,
regardless, but, you got to give it away to keep it,
yep,
is what is said. So I know you're an artist. I wanted to touch on that, man.
yeah,
You've been writing poetry. Have you always wrote poetry?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So as far as you can remember, like how
No,
far
I mean,
back does it go?
I started writing, I think when I was like maybe 18, and I was at this program. Because I had my daughter when she was 6 months till 4 years old. So like, even before I always wanted to be a father, and I was going to one of those classes where they help single fathers and all that. So I was doing my GED, and I had this essay, and the question was, write a situation or something that happened in your life, and how did you respond to it, and how did you feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm sitting there, and I wrote a fiction fairy tale. Once upon
Okay.
a time, there lived a prince, but I was telling my story into like a fairy tale content, right? So I gave it to the teacher. She's like, "Oh my God, you wrote this?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, She was like, "Wow, you so creative. Like, well, how did you?" I was like, "I don't know. I just watch movies and stuff." So I put it down, and as I kept rereading it, right, I was like, "Wow, man! Like, I could write." And then I just started just writing poems and stuff. But like back then, it was more I was always contradicting myself, because I would want to talk positive, but I'm living negative,
Mm.
But what I understood was that was me escaping. That was me finding an outlet.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because I used to be like when I was in active addiction, like I
Uh,
had periods of abstinence, right? But I was in this Christian hip hop group,
yeah,
right? And so
yeah,
we're writing hip hop songs about Jesus and about
yeah,
how he saved me and like the salvation and everything
yeah,
like that, man. But then behind closed doors, I'm
yeah,
shooting
yeah,
dope, I'm
yeah,
smoking crack,
yeah,
I'm chasing the next one, and
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's a good perspective, man.
yeah.
You were escaping
Escaping my reality,
that
man.
darkness.
Yes,
Yeah.
escaping it. But it
And
was
that,
putting it on paper for me to like go back and look at it and identify with it. So as I started writing for years and years and years, right, I just started just creating who I am as a poet, a spoken word artist and or rapper or whatever. So and man, it's phenomenal, man. And now when I write, man, like it became a gift, and I don't know how, why, whatever, but as I'm speaking to you face to face, if I put something down on paper, right, and write something, it's more than me speaking to you face to face.
okay.
You
Huh.
know what I mean?
That's
It's just
interesting.
having that gift to inspire somebody else, using words as my vocab. I can
Yeah.
accumulate different words, present a metaphor, like how did that where did that come from,
Yeah, man.
and like just having that talent, man, and now that's my voice, it's part of my voice.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And I love to hear some stuff if you don't mind sharing with in a couple minutes. Is that all right?
So, hey, yeah, man, yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
I appreciate that.
that's
But
what I
before
do,
we get
man.
to that, I wanted to also just touch on like the fact that, and I don't know where the inspiration came from. I like to think that at one point you told me that I helped kind of like this podcast early in its days kind of helped inspire you to want to do a podcast
Yeah,
yourself. So you got involved in doing that with some other people
yeah,
quite some time ago. And I know since then it's not really been airing, but
yeah.
what was your experience with that? What was
Oh,
that about? Because I never got to tune in and I
okay,
apologize. I was, preoccupied with
okay.
my life.
So pretty much, and I give my God, my high power, all the glory and credit, because what he does is he send people in my life, and he allowed me to experience different things at different times in life.
Sure.
So I had met this girl named Kristen, and we go to the same church, Lifehouse, and she's a visionist. You know what I mean? She got so much vision, right? So one day we was talking, and she was talking about a podcast, right? She was like, I want to start a podcast where it's enough. And I was like, enough what? She's like, enough pain, enough addiction, enough suicide. I was like, so you a generational breaker like me, right? And she was like, oh my God. I was like, what you mean, cool, oh my God, right? So the next week, right, she posted the podcast, Generational Breakers Enough, right?
Oh, wow.
So I was like, dang, you done stole my name and all that. So then she reached out to me and was like, well, look, I want you to be our first guest. So I went on, so I shared my story, my addictions, my spirituality, all that, where I was. And then she was like, I want you to be a host on this. So I was like, wow, like, you know.
That's awesome, dude.
Awesome, phenomenal.
Yeah.
So it gave me an opportunity to have a voice and a platform, you know, to be who I am, to speak what I need to speak to help somebody else. And then with social media, you know, you can reach many through social media. So our generational podcast was mainly directing towards the youth, directing towards middle class, older people, whatever. So we're just breaking chains, you know, having people come onto the show talking about what they doing positive for the community. So it kind of was like a community activist a movement. And like, what are we doing to build each other, to help the community out? You know, what resources are we using? And yeah, man, we used to have people come on, man, share their stuff. And what that did for me was it allowed me to start networking, allowed me to start, you know, meeting different people in different status. You know, I'm a drug addict hanging around city council people. I'm a drug addict, you know, ex-junkie, you know, hanging out with this person, hanging out with that person, right? But they embraced me, accept me because what I believed in and who I was as a person, and what I was bringing to the table. So the experience gave me my own vision. And so pretty much last year we decided to do our last episode due to production. We was being produced by this one guy that has his own podcast and all that. And the dedication, devotion, and all that put into it, you know, she didn't have time. I didn't really have time. Life showed up, so we canceled it.
Yeah.
But it gave me my own vision. So eventually I want to have my own podcast for recovering addicts called I Am Recovery Live Cast Unleash the Message, right?
Okay.
You inspired me to have this podcast. Other people inspired me to have this podcast. So the Poe podcast, you know, come and share the message, man. Give it to it raw. You know, not only that, but like my idea of it is, you know, let me have my daughter on here with me, right? Share the pain that I put you through.
Ooh,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's go out into the street, right, and see an addict that's still suffering. Look, man, we want to talk to you right now. Woo. If you want to get into treatment, I can help you. You know, becoming part of the solution. You know, like a resource center just as well too, and just, you know, have the newcomer come on and share. You get what I'm saying? You have something to bring to the table. You know.
I love it. I love that. I love that vision, Jamal. And it's interesting. And I had a similar vision. I had this experience. I went down to this comedy club. It's a free comedy club to get into. It's in Baltimore. And I noticed a sign up on top of a door. It said podcast studio. And there was a sign on the door. It said free to use. Just like you have to get in touch with the owner and schedule a time that you can go in there. So the owner was there. I asked him, hey, can I look at the studio? And I went in, and all it was just a table with 4 chairs and 4 microphones. And like, I guess you would have to bring your own computer and audio interface, but the microphones and the space is there. And so I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. And then I started thinking, I was like, man, if I can find an addict, like on the walk from the parking lot to that comedy club, we saw homeless people. And I was like, man, if I could just say to one of these people, hey, look, I'll give you $20, come in and talk to me about your life and your struggles, and maybe we can see about finding a way to get you some help when all this is over, man. Because of course I'm not going to bring a still sick and suffering addict or a homeless person into my own home and interview them on the podcast, and they don't have the technology to be able to do what we're doing right now. But if I can bring them into this studio that's free to use, it's already in the city, there's security cameras there, there's a level of safety bringing them there that would not be in place bringing them here. So that would be an awesome thing to do, man. But the only thing of it is like I don't feel comfortable doing that solo. So maybe at some point in time that you and I can get together and try to accomplish that.
Man. Because the problem I'm having with starting my podcast is production. Equipment production and all that. So like I reached out to the one guy who did the generational thing. He just haven't got back at me yet. And like in this area of Hagerstown, nobody's really doing nothing. Like podcast wise and nothing like that. And like I know it'll help a lot of people out. Just to have something to do, man. Something to do, some excitement. But like, my vision goes a whole lot because like, entertainment. It's all about entertainment and me learning and then being around people who put recovery into their gifts and talents, man, is so phenomenal because it shows recovery at a different level. It's not put in a box. So man, I'm thinking about like putting music to it, videos to it, because like I listen to a lot of recovery music, like Breaking Benjamin,
they're in recovery,
just recovery songs, man, just relating to
relating to pain or whatever it may be,
adding music to it, having people come on, share their talent, if you rap, if you sing and all this and all that, and just have fun with this thing, man.
Man. And I found like, cause I used to play a lot of like music videos on season 1 of this podcast and like do different things geared towards entertainment. But what I've found out by not doing that on this season is that I can really connect better with my guests. So there's different dynamics. It depends on what you want to do. It's something we can talk about off air, and I love to talk about some of your ideas and like bounce ideas off of each other. I think you're a motivated, inspired, inspirational person, young man that and we have some similar interests that I think could work well, just bouncing ideas. So I'd love to talk about more about that. Man. So, and Hagerstown is really not that far off. I think it's like an hour drive on Route 70 from Ellicott City. But, dude, we're just about out of time. It's 11:59. So what I really like to close out is like, hear some of this, some of the poetry, man. Some of the spoken word. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, I'll share it, man. That's what I do, man. So pretty much, man, I write. There's so much stored inside of here, and inside of here, it has to come out, I just love it. So like, everything that I write, I try to incorporate, spirituality. I share about recovery and just words are so powerful and meaningful. So like, there's this one that I was share with y'all, like to share with y'all. It's called man, let me get it in my mind real quick.
It's all good.
Suicide No Addict's Prayer, right? Mm-hmm. And I shared this at one of the events that we did together. Okay. And the reason why I wrote this, it was like, I believe each addict is gonna come up. You don't have to, but I know mine took me to thinking suicidal, right? And in the midst of me thinking suicidal, me just crying out, it actually became a prayer, right? So as I wrote this poem, it was me painting a picture of my everyday thinking.
Okay.
Me painting a picture of my everyday thinking, like, me taking a blast, setting back what I'm really thinking about. Me coming down off of it, what I'm thinking about. As the pain progressed, what was I really thinking about? At the end of my road, where was I at? So it's called Suicide No Addict's Prayer. My hands is jittery as I write these pages full of emptiness. It's not that I'm nervous. I'm a slave from the combination and obsession to use drugs. Fueled by the compulsion that my life is useless. I use just to survive behind this war inside and the obsession to die. So I stare across the room, wishing I could gain some courage to place my brains on the wall. But instead, I summons the dragon, inhaling the demon I despise. As the smoke enters my throat, I watch the smoke flow through the glass and hope that this reality is my last blast. I'm owned by this force I can't see, so I kiss the stem as a reminder of my uselessness. I'm addicted. And in my confession, I can't stop nights of terror. I'm hopeless. Anywhere in this place I don't want to go, build me a box where I long to be. This hell inside has overtaken me. By my deathbed, I feel the stem with my self-esteem, praying that I stay in this dream. But I'm awakened by the overpowering force, and that reality that place that box has for me is calling me to a place I recall. As I journey to oppression, I always crawl until I fall. I own by bondage, I yearn to feel that empty space. As long as I have to wait, I stay a prisoner to my low self-esteem. I'm a prisoner to my low self-esteem. Build me a box where I long to be. This hell inside has overtaken me. By my deathbed, I feel the stem with my self-esteem, praying that I stay in this dream. But I'm awakened by the overpowering force, and that reality that box has for me. It's calling me to a place I recall. As I journey to oppression, I always crawl until I fall. I'm owned by bondage. I yearn to feel that empty space. As long as I have to wait, I stay a prisoner to low self-esteem. I sit with regret from all the wrong I've done. Give me a sign so I could see. But I'm lost in these pages, rewriting this book of death. It's been a lonely road I regret. Till the day I'm gone, I sit and regret. I wander alone if I could be free. But this is what I become. I'm an addict, and I live with this disease. So forgive me if I'm wrong. I cried with so many pain. This is my voice. I hope you can hear.
Dude, that a couple of times gave me chills, man. And I can relate to that, man. You really described what active addiction was like using an art form, and that was beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing that. That was really cool.
And that's like, my poet name is Inspiration, man, and that's what it is, man. Like, you know, I'm the offspring of my expression. I'm the offspring of my expression.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So yeah, man. Now how many poems do you think you've written over the course of time?
So every time in active addiction, I write like 50, 60 poems, and I lose them. I'll lose them, right? And I told myself I'll never write again. So I remember this last time I was in rehab. That was 2016. I wrote a poem and never stopped ever since. So I probably got like about 50 poems in my phone.
Oh wow, that's wild, man.
Yeah, like 50.
Cool.
And like, you know, sometimes I like add music to it, themes to it. I did one in the studio. I did two of them in the studio before. So I'm slowly becoming inspiration, right? Yeah. And I'm creating my art. You know what I mean?
Now, is there any? Okay. Sorry to cut you off. Didn't mean to do that. Is there any place where the listeners can like go and listen to the ones you did in the studio?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I ain't there. Yeah, once I get there, you know, I'll have everything. Like I said, man, like, you know, I'm still slowly learning who I am as a person, and then, you know, creating that art and getting that message out. Because like I said, I'm so inspired by just everything, you know, the movement y'all had, the Cloud Game movement. Like, y'all guys really let me see recovery more than what it was. You know what I'm saying? And then to be talented and put into some type of art form, the voice reached many in different ways, man. And so, you know, just even, man, look, y'all guys, I spoke something to existence with y'all guys, man. You know what I'm saying?
What's that?
I'm gonna perform with them guys one day.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Stay with them guys one day.
You
know what I mean? And 2-3 years later, look, I'm gonna be on this podcast.
Yeah, man.
You know, stuff like this, you know, and what that does for me, man, it just give me that hope that, like, you know, I might not be able to change the world, but I can change my environment.
That's right, man.
I can change the people around me. And like, one greatest thing too, like the same neighborhood that I grew up in, I have an opportunity to mentor to the kids. So me and this guy named Coach Brandon he has a program, and I started volunteer. So once it's Corona stuff, I can really commit to, just being a mentor to kids, man, and giving back.
Yeah, man. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and that's what's so pure about your spirit. You're just you're willing to do more than the average person to help the next person who is sick and suffering, and that's awesome, man. So I admire that about you, Jamal. If you were to say something to close this podcast out, and I don't mean to put the pressure on you, man, but what would you say? How would you close this thing out, man?
There's peace behind a life of pain.
There's peace behind a life of pain, and there you have it, folks.
Jamal
P, man. My man, it's been real. It's been real, dude. I loved having you on. I love to do it again, and I'd love to talk about that.
I want to do the face-to-face, Joe, man. I want to do the face-to-face, man. I want to hear for it's the whole experience. You get what I'm saying? And look,
it certainly is.
I had a surprise for you too, man.
Okay, what's up?
I had one for you.
Oh, you do? You say you do have a surprise?
Yeah. Because I'm looking on your wall right now, and I see you, Joe, kind of. You know what I mean? So I remember we was at the concert, right? Down Baltimore.
Okay.
And this last the Village concert.
Soundstage? Oh, yeah. The Soundstage. Okay.
So somebody took a picture of you jumping in the crowd.
Yeah.
Joe, so I got the picture on my phone. I was gonna blow it up. I'm gonna blow it up and frame it for you.
Oh man, that's awesome, hang it dude. Up, yo. I appreciate that. Yeah, dude, that was quite an experience crowd surfing in Baltimore Soundstage, man. Yeah. And look, I'm gonna show you something real quick. Hang tight. Look, man, it's been a while. I wanted to show you. I still got it. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The birth of the panda. Yeah, man. The birth of the panda was, Cloud Gang. And I was still able to, the panda still lives on, man. Yeah. Even though I'm not associated, maybe I'm still associated in a lot of people's minds. Yeah. However, I'm a separate entity. Yeah. And I think that's kind of how it always was. I was a separate entity involved and associated with Cloud Gang, and I was helping them. How do we say it before the podcast started rolling? I was helping them like build their dream or help, and that's okay. Like, it's okay that we have moved on and we can fulfill our own dreams other ways now. So they're still doing their thing. I'm still doing my thing. It's all love, and I got a ton of respect for B Rain, Ram One, Kalichi, Joe Nestor, all the guys. They've helped pave the way for my recovery today, and that's what we were talking about earlier. So I got nothing but love for those guys.
Much love.
Yeah, man. Well, it's been real, Jamal. Thanks for coming out on the podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, tune in next. I got a couple surprises for you guys, but I decided to start doing more of these live podcasts throughout the week. So the next one is going to be within the next 2 weeks, and I'll be putting that advertisement out soon. All I'm going to tell you guys is it's a female, so I'm going to be getting a female's perspective on recovery, and I'm pretty excited for that. So Jamal, thanks again for coming out.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me, man. We're going to link up too, man.
Definitely. All right, man.
All right.
Subscribe now at A.live Panda on YouTube.